Hello everyone and welcome to Sunburned. Albino ranks every boss in Stellar Blade from easiest to hardest. Footage is all taken from my first playthrough on normal mode. Hard isn't unlocked until you beat the game, but it sure felt like hard mode in my pants. Obligatory Gooner joke out of the way, this game doesn't even have nudity in it, so if anyone wants to condescend to Stellar Blade enjoyers while you smile at all the full sex scenes in Game of the Year winner Baldur's Gate 3, maybe don't. I like both games for the record. I streamed it for some of the bosses, but then I discovered how side questy it was, which in my opinion isn't great for streams, so I recorded the rest of them off screen. Story spoilers ahead, as if any of us bought this game for the story, but starting from easiest and working our way to hardest. Number 23, Lady Guard and Lady Guard 2. The easiest boss in Stellar Blade is Lady Guard, and then as a separate encounter, Lady Guard 2, which is the same lady but with a slightly longer combo. This is a gimmick fight where she regains her balance immediately after she does the one combo she ever does against you, unless you perfectly parry every hit of it, in which case you can retribution her ass for extra damage. You don't need to nail it every time, you can just damage her normally if you want, but it's a good way to practice your parry timing when later bosses are going to lay you out for not having it. If you struggle with parries, I recommend getting the skill tree node that extends the window, and there's an exospine you can find eventually that makes it easier to perfect block and dodge too. Number 21, Maelstrom and Maelstrom 2. Bosses in this game have a lot of 2s, but these are the last ones to get grouped together because the other 2s are generally decently harder than their 1s. The Maelstrom fights take place under the gun-only restriction. When you travel into the underground entrances, the Lady Guards are Lady Guarding, but that actually makes it easier because since you don't have to worry about parrying with a sword you can't use, you can just run around willy-nilly and avoid all the projectiles that way while shooting the Maelstrom's glowing zits. Standard fare, shoot all the small weak spots to temporarily unveil the big weak spot and then pump it full of lead, rinse and repeat. The Stinger missiles do good damage against the big weak spot. I tried the charge beam on it, but I never really got enough time to do anything. All you have to do is dodge lasers that threaten precisely 2% of the square footage of the arena and wander around the slow-moving bubbles. Number 19, Corruptor. I imagine this is what people look like who are on their 10th COVID booster. The Corruptor is basically a reskin of the regular horse enemies who called in sick to work and gained some spitting attacks. Same parry timing on the main combo with just the need to dodge the occasional snot bubble. Most of your combo attacks are auto-cancelable into parries or dodges, but finishers can be laggy, so don't finish your combos unless the enemy's stunned. Number 18, Brute. The first intro boss of the game. The only reason I put this harder than anything else is because it actually has variations to its combos, so you have to learn more and pay attention. Luckily, you have your best friend for 5 minutes, Taki, helping you bring down this beast in a brief moment of glory before she gets her shit wrecked. The last time I showed a game character losing their arm in a boss ranking, I got age restricted because YouTube is run by toddlers and bots programmed by toddlers, so you'll just have to imagine or remember it. Number 17, Stalker. I find this dude easier than some of the other comparable bosses because he's got a lot of counter opportunities. He likes to give you blue attacks and purple attacks, which just open him up for punishment in such a blatant way you'd think he was begging for it, and looking at Eve, he probably is. I am definitely not a step-on-me guy, which is why if I ever evolved into a Natiba, I'd probably be one of the insect things with a giant shield to protect myself from heals and also be super annoying to fight. Number 16, Abaddon. Double-sworded lightning man, but the lightning's pretty easy to dodge and the swords are pretty easy to read once you get the hang of it. Abaddon is the first real solo boss fight you have, so you're still feeling things out and getting hit by obvious attacks and not closing the distance with rush whenever you can. Don't get hit by obvious attacks and do close the distance with rush whenever you can to discourage him from summoning electricity from the night sky. Number 15, Donut Head. Some of my stream text is blocking the top of the screen so I can't see its real name. That either says Gigas or could be anything. Donut Head is pretty slow and reactable. Can be counterattacked, not a big deal, but I want to eat his head. It's like in Doom where you tear the meat off those hive things and it starts a wave of enemies. That makes me hungry. Seeing this dude's head get cut into legitimately makes my stomach growl and wonder what it tastes like barbecued. Like, yeah, we're calling him Donut Head, but that's a meat donut. Give me the juice. Number 14, Corruptor 2. I imagine this is what people look like who are on their 11th COVID booster. He brought a friend this time, and neither of them plan on keeping a 6-foot distance from you. The regular horse thing should obviously be taken care of first, and it doesn't take too long, leaving you with a still mildly beefed-up version of the Corruptor with more dangerous attacks. It goes about the same way, though, so it's not a big struggle. Number 13, Karakuri. I'm going to be looking a damn fool in this footage, because it only occurred to me after the fight that I should maybe try jumping over the 360 laser instead of dodging through it, which I still maintain should work. Like, why won't you activate my iframes? I paid good SP for these, but I digress. For how late in the game it is, Karakuri has some of the easiest attacks to parry, and my only trouble came from trying to dodge through lasers with my one-dimensional brain. Number 12, Juggernaut. One of the more forgettable bosses to me, big guy with hammer, occasionally does fiery shockwaves, not too easy but not too hard either. It's worth mentioning for combat tips that your beta skills are the absolute majority of your damage output, so they should be used very liberally. The one I always default to is the triple spear thing, the L1 square, because if you fully upgrade it, it can be used to interrupt pretty much anything an enemy or boss is doing. As long as a boss isn't already in the air doing some shit, whipping out a quick beta poke will cancel whatever they're cooking, which is great if you see an enemy about to unleash an unblockable attack and you know you suck at dodging it. Unblockable attacks are the bane of my existence. I'll parry 8 sword swings in a row, but as soon as I have to dodge one AoE or leaping plummet attack, I get 10-finger arthritis. For burst skills, I default to the R1 circle. You're invulnerable while unleashing it, and at max investment it steals HP from enemies and knocks them down. Near endgame, I started using that as a get-out-of-jail-free card if an attack was about to happen that I wasn't ready for. Number 11, Abaddon 2. He's back. Couple more hits in the combos, nothing major, still parryable. Number 10, Stalker 2. This one's actually a bit trickier and killed me a couple of times. This Stalker's combos are a bit irregular, so you have to really study the patterns while still just flickering your block constantly. Number 9, Behemoth. You must avenge Kaya's sister by defeating this Hand Panther. Also, if this game's so sexualized, why am I wearing a full bear suit costume, huh? How come that's in the game then? Who's gonna wanna fuck a— oh wait, that's right. This is a good time to mention shock grenades, because I kinda spam them towards the end, but shock grenades are grenades that you throw at your feet and instantly knock down anything near you, including bosses, including major bosses. It interrupts their attacks, and it puts them on their ass for free. You have to be right up in their face, though. So what I occasionally do if I'm near the end of a fight that might still get away from me, I'll combine shock grenades with my triple spear interrupter, which can stun lock a boss back and forth for a decent chunk of time. You can only carry 3 shock grenades at a time though, unless you find enough random drink cans, so there is a limit to its efficacy. Why does Eve need to collect cans anyway? She got a perfectly good pair of cans already. Number 8, Brute 2. Brute 2 starts a trend I am not a fan of with the sequel bosses where they just give them a bunch more unblockable attacks and tell them to go nuts. Bosses like these deserve to be stun-locked. I'm interrupting as many of those giant AoE lava ball slam things as possible and invincibility-ing through the rest. And what's with having 12 damn balance shards? We're far past the point where Retribution does any real damage. It's just not worth stacking up all those parries to take off 10% of a fatty's HP. Number 7, Chewed Donut Head. I was dissatisfied with the end of the first Donut Head fight. I really wanted Eve to slice his donut in half, and now that he's back, it's just more proof that she should've. This Donut Head, like Brute 2, has a lot more unblockable attacks, some of which are part of unblockable combos, and that's just not okay, man. You give me Dark Souls iframes and let me roll through this shit, we have no problem, but having to trigger a perfect dodge at exactly the right timing against deceptively ambiguous attacks is something I'd like to have left off my bingo card. Of course, you get to the end of the fight, and Eve still doesn't slice his head in half. Donut's still in one piece. How can you improv a finishing move and not have that be the first thing you think to do? I'm hungry. Number 6, Belial. Belial is known as the Lord of Lies, and that is fitting because the first time we encounter him we cut his arm off, and then at the start of the next one he regenerates it on the spot like, no you didn't. His combos, while long and fast, are instinctively parryable. Like if you just keep tapping L1 at a consistent rhythm, you'll generally parry everything. He goes at a nice tempo for that. What they don't tell you until it's happening in real time is that Belial will keep regenerating his HP bar after you empty it. He does this twice, and it's only after the third time you deplete his bar that we finally disintegrate him with the railgun I spent the last 20 hours forgetting Lily put in the drone. Each subsequent emptying of his bar, though, gives him less HP overall, so it's easier to drain with each subsequent thing. Number 5, Tacky. This reveal would have been cool if I knew anything about Tacky at all, or had interacted with her for more than 5 minutes. As far as I'm concerned, I'm being attacked by an acquaintance. Tacky reminds me of the Romeo fight from Lies of P. Like, it's hard, but it's not that hard. She's definitely more passive than she could have been. That said, her combos can be hard to parry just because of how slow they are. Lack of speed can be just as much of an asset as speed if you're delaying your strikes so much that it baits your opponent into an early parry attempt. As the fight goes on, Tacky will grow one wing at a time until she has a grand total of 2 of them, and eventually you'll crash through the ground and her combos will get deadlier. Hope you got a lot of beta energy stored up from being a reply guy in women's tweets, because you're going to need as much as humanly possible. Number 4, Demo Crawler. Damn, there's like a whole fraternity of dudes up in there. The demo crawler has some jerky motions. He seems designed to be tough to parry, and his health pool seems massive. I've got the max attack power I can possibly have at this point, having found all the weapon cores and trading the damaged ones, and it's all just chip damage I'm doing here. It doesn't take much to make this guy try hard, though. Not 20% of the way through the fight, he's already pulling swords out of his gooch and turning into a cosmic horror. You got to stay close at all times because his ranged attacks are not fun to deal with, and don't burn your burst attacks while he's stationary because he loves to work backwards whenever I launch one of those. This boss list started out easy, then went to medium around number 11, and now we're at pretty hard, including tacky, with another difficulty to jump to coming right up. Number 3, Unidentified Naytiba. Finally, we get our revenge on the black-winged creature who took the life of our most passing acquaintance. This boss is quick and likes to stagger her combos. Some variations are easier to deal with than others, but with some slow-moving projectiles and unblockable aerial assaults to go with them. About halfway through, it'll introduce you to its insta-kill move, a thing that some bosses get to have in this game because that's fun. Taking a page out of Sephiroth's book, or more like a whole-ass chapter, it involves her floating in the air and summoning 3 glowing pustule shard orb things that take about 3 slugs each to destroy, otherwise I assume you die. I never let the attack go off because I'm a living aimbot. Just kidding, I played Counter-Strike for an hour once and got folded with surgical precision, but even I'm fast enough to shoot all 3 before you have to dodge her onslaught of projectiles, which actually makes the attack a welcome sight because it's free retribution when it's over. Personally, this is as difficult as I want boss fights to ever be in games. I'm almost 30, clearly all of my senses are declining. I'll watch a boss do a combo, internalize the timing of the combo, and then 20 seconds later, the next time the boss does the combo, I've completely forgotten the timing of the combo. My best days must be behind me. Number 2, Providence. Lily, for fuck's sake, do something. I'm getting lit up out here. Stellar Blade has 3 endings, apparently, with 2 distinct boss fights you can get, depending on your chosen or worked towards ending. This sucks for me, because I could only do 1 boss per playthrough, which means I missed out on the other one. That's right, I've chosen 20 entries into the ranking to tell you that I have not played the alternate boss fight against Adam, because I would have had to do the whole damn game again. I enjoyed myself the majority of the way through, but I don't want to do it immediately again. But I did watch someone fight him, and he looks like he'd definitely be number 1 or 2. This might be Millennia 2.0 as far as my boss rankings are concerned, but I accept that L in favor of reclaiming 30 extra hours of my life. Anyway, Providence is a Gundam that Lily is trapped in that went autopilot mode when Eve fused with Adam and became the new Elder Naytiba, so that's why we have angel headgear and a scarf wrapped around our crotch. Providence takes 0 damage from anything. Whatever that alloy is, I want it in Eve's underwear, because meanwhile I'm getting 2 or 3 shot by rockets and laser blasts. I just fused with the Elder Naytiba. Why am I still made of paper? The only thing that makes this not the hardest boss in Stellar Blade is that you only have to get it down to a 1/3 health left. Once that happens, Lily figures out how to escape, and Eve stops holding back, aka she becomes literally fucking invincible. They even take away her health bar. What health bar? She don't have one of those. She's a god now, capable of stun-locking Providence into oblivion just by mashing her most basic attacks. I was overjoyed when this happened. I made a point of not using WB pumps against bosses, which let you revive once per battle in the middle of the fight if you die, but I chucked that rule out the window with Providence because this thing was just randomly vaporizing me and I didn't want to lose the good run I had. Number 1, Raven. The hardest boss in Stellar Blade is Raven. Having shed her Naytiba form, or more us ripping it off her like a bad cosplay, apparently that shit was just holding her back, cause as an angel, she takes no prisoners. Super fast and lengthy combos, teleportation away from retaliation, high damage unblockable attacks. One of the things that makes Raven the hardest boss is her ability to invalidate important game mechanics like, I don't know, beta energy as a whole. Once you trigger the next phase of the fight after about a quarter of her health is gone, she will randomly just start countering your beta skills whenever she feels like it and kick you around like a puppy. The counter doesn't do actual damage to you, thank God, because it would be busted if it did, but it cancels your momentum and pisses you off every time it happens. This is another boss I needed a WB pump for. After a dozen attempts, I got her like 85% dead and then died and just said screw it. That said, I virtually never use Taki mode in any boss fight, so I'll retain some props for that. And that's gonna do it for this boss ranking. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you can like, share, and subscribe. I got tons of other boss rankings you can check out if you're new here. Watch all my other videos while enjoying your favorite name brand can of liquid, and I'll see you guys next time.